If you just ate or have a weak stomach, then I advise you to be cautious while listening to my presentation, especially if you have an imaginative brain. Hi, I am Linnell Vial, and today I'll be talking to you about meat-eating horses. Usually, when we think of what a horse eats, we think grass, grain, corn, etc. When I think of what a horse eats, I think meat. That is right, I just said meat. The reason why I say meat is because I think of the people who are trying to cross the North Pole, South Pole, and Antarctica. Usually, when we think about crossing the North Pole, South Pole, or Antarctica, we usually think about using dogs. But we haven't made it very far. Recent studies have actually shown that using carnivorous horses can help us cross the North Pole, South Pole, and Antarctica. Now, you want to be careful on what meat you give your horse. The meat that I suggest you give is salted fish. The reason why I say salted fish is because salted fish will give your horse salt, vitamin A, vitamin D, and selenium. One of the most recent studies that I have actually found of a horse eating meat was of a video in 2014. Now, I do not have the video with me today, but I will describe to you about what happened. So what happened was that the horse's owner had a baby chick. The horse's owner then put the chick down so that the horse would notice. The horse then started to go after the chick. A few seconds later, the horse catches the chick and then eventually eats it. One of the most latest events that I have been able to find of a meat-eating horse was of a famous person that we all know. That person was Alexander the Great. His horse, Bucephalus, was a carnivorous horse. Now, Alexander was the only person able to get close enough to Bucephalus, but it's not because they had some special bond or anything like that. Alexander was actually the only person to notice that Bucephalus was afraid of his own shadow. Alexander actually saved Bucephalus' life and then ended up getting brought to greatness by that very same horse. Now, one case that happens even nowadays are people who live in Iceland. They will go and feed their horses meat. One group in particular, the Tibetan, go and mix blood with their horse's grain. Yes, it is perfectly safe to feed your horse blood. Blood has iron in it, so your horse will be getting the iron that it needs. But you want to be cautious on how much blood you give your horse, because too much iron can actually be pretty deadly, and not just to horses, but to any animal. Now you may be thinking that, oh, those are just some specific groups who decide to do it. Well, that's not necessarily true. You actually give your horse meat products without even realizing it. Hoof improvement, some kibble, horse kibble, and some horse treats actually have meat in them. One group in particular, the Hawthorne, actually state that they have beef gelatin in their products. Now for horses, there are some truths, but there are also some misinterpretations about them. Today I'll be telling you about some truths about them. One truth is that horses are opportunistic omnivores. An opportunistic omnivore is an animal that will go eating meat and grass, but meat's not the preferred choice necessarily, but they will do it to survive. Now, horses nowadays are omnivores because just so they can survive, they will kill anything that they can find. Horses' digestive systems have changed over the years to being mainly a herbivore, but that is all because of us. Because we have fed them grass, grain, and all that other stuff over the years, the digestive tract has grown accustomed to only being able to really digest it. But you can still give your horse meat. Now, if you have no grass or grain or any food for your horse, giving them meat will help them to survive. Now, here are some misinterpretations about horses. Like I said, horses aren't actually really herbivores, but omnivores. Horses actually need 1.4 pounds of protein per day. You can actually give your horse meat to help give your horse protein. But you gotta make sure that you calculate the amount of protein in the meat and the amount of protein in the other products that you're giving them. Because you don't want to give your horse too much protein. But before you do any of this, you want to make sure you consult your doc or your vet to make sure it is okay to give your horse meat. Now, I have only talked about colder places. Maybe thinking, how does that particularly involve us? Well, not even just colder places, but you can actually give your horse meat in deserts so that way the horse doesn't starve. And not even just in deserts, but even in places like where we live where the seasons change. Meat goes and gives your horse or your dog energy. So, possibly giving your horse meat can actually make it so they have more energy to go more distance. So, if you have a racehorse, this would actually be very good for you to use. As long as you make sure it's okay with your vet and that you don't give them too much meat because they're not used to digesting it. So, now that you know your horse can and will eat meat, will you think twice about them? Well, I suggest you don't. Because as long as you make sure to keep your horse fed properly and not give them meat too often if you decide to give them meat, then your horse won't be trying to take a bite out of you or your family members anytime. Thank you. Today, I got my resources from Ancient History Encyclopedia, retrieved from ancient.eu/Bucephalus, Kentucky Equine Research Nutrition, retrieved from cur.com, and O'Reilly C. Deadly Equines, The Shocking True Stories of Meat-Eating and Murderous Horses, The Long Riders Guild Press. If you have any questions for me today, I would like you to leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Thank you.